Hello, everyone from Chelsea Fan TV, and welcome back to another episode of the Day After Show, where we go for everything that happened yesterday against Brentford. As always, we're going to be talking about the good, the bad, the beautiful, and the ugly. Although a lot of people will still say, even if we're winning, it's still not particularly pretty to watch. But that's another conversation. I hope everyone's doing well, enjoying your Sunday. I was saying in the pub yesterday after, I was saying it's great. I love a Saturday 3:00. It's brilliant. It might not be great if you're at home and you don't have Sky and TNT, all the rest of it. But oh no, wasn't it? Was it 3:00? Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
It was
3:00.
3:00.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's just something nice and pleasant about it. It's not too early. It's not too late. You got time before and you got time after. So listen, hope everyone's well. We've got a really good panel today. We've got Saeed, who's back in the building. How are you, Saeed, mate?
I'm all right, man. We got a win. Almost forgot how it feels to win in the Premier League, but I guess that's where we're at nowadays.
Hey, man. Hopefully it's the first of a good run of games. We'll see. Warren, I'll keep you posted about those Hull tickets. I haven't heard anything as of yet, but I'll let you know. How are you anyway?
Oh, they won't be on sale for a couple of weeks, will they?
Yeah,
they're all right. They won't be on sale for a couple of weeks anyway. But yeah.
It's a bit of a debate about whether I'm going to go either. Although I heard, Charlie, that you're not coming. You're not going.
Well, that's not 100% confirmed, but that is it's definitely on the swerve list potentially.
I heard in the grapevine.
If neither of you can go, just instantly, if neither
somewhere
of
on Valentine's Day. That's what I heard, Charlie, in the grapevine.
No, I can confirm, mate, that absolutely isn't the case. But the thought of a Friday night, 7:45, which is probably going to have to be a staying over job as well.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
Is it further than Cardiff? I can't remember if it's
further than Cardiff. Yeah, Jesus, yeah, it's a lot further than Cardiff. Yeah, it's a long way. It's like Leeds and Doncaster and stuff.
Yeah.
No, man, I'm not gonna lie. Hull's a great place to go. Like, I'd love to go there, but I've never done it. But I'm with you, Charlie. I'm in your camp. I'm thinking about potentially swerving.
That's the only thing that's maybe not the swerve is the fact that I've never been to that ground before, and I'm not sure when the opportunity might come again. But is it? I don't know. Is that worth it? I'm not sure.
Can I just say that Hull is a shithole. You don't like. There's no going out for a great night in Hull.
No.
I mean, you said that you got a guy who in Hull who can. I mean, I don't even know what you do around there. Is it better than Burnley?
It must be better than Burnley.
Burnley's awful.
Yeah.
That's where I met you, Warren. So I don't know.
Yeah, it must be better than Burnley.
A little bit better. Okay, so we've got some hope then. Anyway, let's talk about the football, guys. Let's talk about what we saw yesterday. Let's start off with you, Thomas, because I know you were sat in the family section. You didn't like the atmosphere necessarily, but good seats.
Yeah, no, they're not bad. Like they're quite cheap, to be fair. It was about like 30 quid, and then for the Arsenal game, also in the family section for like 20 quid, which was really not that much. Obviously, like it's not the best atmosphere there. Like, obviously, you're right next to, or where I was sitting, I was next to Harding Lower, so it wasn't like the worst. You could still like join in a couple times, but like last game, I was on the last row. Your view's sort of restricted, but it's not the worst seats. Like, you get a decent. I was right behind Rosenior, which was pretty cool, to be fair. So I was focusing a lot on what he was doing, like how he was instructing the team, like his tactics, all of that. Like, from first sight, like I was thinking, like, compared to Maresca, because I've seen Maresca, like he's so focused on the minute details and everything. When I was looking at Rosenior, like it was a lot of clapping, like especially like in the opposition's face. So like every time that they were near the sideline, he'd just clap like really loud. A couple tactics here and there, like he'd show like Delap or Palmer like a sheet and then like show them stuff how to do. So I was really interested to see how he was managing the team, how he was setting us up, and it was just very, very intriguing to see what he was doing, because like we were very much under the cosh yesterday, so it was we didn't really have that many chances. So I was just trying to. It was actually very interesting just seeing his reactions and seeing how he was setting up the team.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not the biggest. Well, I was never a fan of the appointment, but like anything, you've got to try and give every manager a chance. I was behind him for the Arsenal game, so I was like, to be fair, whatever game if you're close to the manager, like you're always going to have a bit of an eye on them, and I feel like we've always been quite lucky to have relatively animated managers, which doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. But when you think of like proper Chelsea and all the rest of it, you think of your Contes, your Tuchels, your Mourinho's. They've got something about them, and there's an aura. It's not like you're just. I suppose this is the thing, isn't it? It's like you had Potter who would clap, but it was like so lifeless and nothing, no real enthusiasm. It didn't feel that way. Whereas with Rosenior, I feel like he has an energy. He does have an energy.
Definitely.
He has character, and I think that's great. You got something about you, but I don't see any aura. And I was saying this. Like aura is not the biggest thing in the world, but it is something that's going to attract players to your football club. It is something that's going to give you the respect in the dressing room, in my opinion, automatically. That's something tactics, nothing else does that. If Mourinho walked in the changing room tomorrow, he would command the respect. He would get the respect, most likely, right? The same with other top managers. And I feel like with Rosenior, the PE teacher thing is like it's borderline offensive because he's just come in it, but it's accurate as hell.
And I just don't think he helps himself as well when he's talking about all the Lego stuff, like clapping without the gloves. I just don't really think he needs to say that to the media. Like, obviously, he's trying to show that he's trying to sort of change and work on the team, obviously, and the team bonding, but I just don't really think he needs to mention like the Lego, the clapping without the gloves, all of that, because that makes him more ridiculed in social media and just like in the whole journalism like sort of sector. So I just don't really think he needs to say those sort of stuff, just because it won't help with, like you were saying, his aura or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, Charlie, what's your take on all that? Because it seems like he's sort of feeding into it in a way, but I suppose you could say that's he's confident. I mean, that's not a bad thing. You'd rather play into it and have a laugh, but I don't really know how I feel about sort of his demeanor as a Chelsea manager.
To be honest, as long as you're winning games, I don't really care what your demeanor is like. I get it. Some people like to have the whole package. They like to have the chat in the press conference, like to have the presence on the sidelines, and then they like to have the results to go with it. Ultimately, for me, like, if you can get all three together, fantastic. But the most important thing is getting the results. So I don't care if he's the most boring guy in the world, or he's outspoken, or he's this or he's that. If he's delivering the results on the pitch, then that's the most important thing for me. Yeah, look, there's stuff that come out in the week. I mean, I don't know who wrote it, don't know where it came from, but it's certainly it's caused a few laughs and a bit of fun. So yeah, fair play, and he can obviously he's got a bit of banter on him, which is good fun. Just on the Lego thing, by the way, if Chelsea and Lego don't do a collab off the back of this, then it's a big missed marketing opportunity. It's a big missed marketing opportunity. They should be like a Stamford Bridge Lego set coming out or something like that. But for me, mate, I don't really care about any of that stuff. Yeah, obviously you have a bit of a laugh about it and whatnot, and it kind of all sounds a bit mad when it comes out. But yeah, as long as he's winning games of football, I don't really think anyone's that fussed about what he's doing on the sidelines, of we're building Lego, or we're doing this or that. As long as we're winning, that's the number one thing.
It's that should be our new front of shirt sponsor. Let us know in the comments as well if you take a Lego sponsorship. You get all this controversy with gambling sponsors, all the rest of it. Bit of Lego, who's going to complain about that? Unless you've got a toddler, obviously don't eat the Lego or anything like that. Then it's safe for everyone. Warren, I mean, what's your take on everything that you've seen so far with Rosenior and obviously the comments he's made?
Well, with Rosenior, I feel like I was a little bit concerned. Looking at his body language. Obviously, Sky Sports have a tendency to show the managers nearly as much as they show the matches these days, because the matches are usually so fucking boring. So looking at his body language on the side and picking up on what Thomas was saying there about like the clapping and the motivations, I quite like the premise of that. I like the idea of that, of always trying to keep spirits high, trying to keep everybody on their toes, keeping throwing instructions around so that everybody's sort of focused on the game as much as possible. I find it a bit of a false aura with him. It feels very forced. It feels like it's not his natural way of being. I'm not saying he's not a naturally positive person. I'm not saying that he's not a great motivator even, but I feel like the whole, like Thomas was saying, standing on the sidelines like, I find it a little bit false. And I think that, I think that professional footballers will see through that. So that's a little bit of a concern, I think. With regards to kind of leaving himself open for ridicule, I think he knows he's going to get ridiculed anyway. He has been ridiculed anyway. He got ridiculed for his age, his lack of experience going into the Chelsea job, the fact that he's done an average to decent job in France, and he was being ridiculed anyway. He was going to get taken the piss out of. That's what was going to happen, even by Chelsea fans to a point. So I think that he's just embraced it and decided to accept the ridicule as a way to deflect some of the attention away from his players. I think that he's actually doing it to look after his players, which is, I think, quite good man management, unless I've got it completely wrong and he's an idiot. But that I'm trying to look at it from a positive potential. So I think that he's trying to take some of the attention away from his players and relieve some of the pressure on them.
What do you think, Saeed? What's your take? I mean, we've spoken a number of times about the ownership. Like, I know your take on the recruitment and everything around that.
Yeah,
I think that's
they're all
bound to
DiCaprio,
influence.
25 and under. That's what they are. 25 and under. DiCaprio model.
They like
That's what
him
they-
young, as you say.
They like him young, yeah. But Liam Rosenior, like a lot of people have had a lot to say about him. I actually met him at the Fulham game, when he was there. I was at Fulham away. I came in a bit early that day because I just got off work. I went straight there, said hello to him. He said hello to a few of the fans in front of me. He speaks well. He seems like he's a good character. The only thing is, from what he done at Hull, from what he done at Strasbourg, that's actually not. He doesn't have necessarily bad achievements, but those achievements that he had probably would warrant him a job at Ipswich last season, a job at Brighton, those sorts of clubs. But when you're coming to Chelsea, you're coming to the Lions' Den, and I think that's why he's just been ridiculed all over the Twitter timeline. One thing, I didn't really care too much about the Lego things. The thing that really just I was like, come on, is when he done that man and age. That's what manage stands for. You're aging men. Like that just, I was like, come on, mate. Like, you're asking for it now. But as long as he gets us the results, I don't care about his demeanor or anything like that. I'm gonna support him all the way. I hope he does I hope he does well, but I know that this might be a step too far for him, and I'm not gonna pass the blame onto him if this all goes to, it just goes boom in his face and just doesn't end up good.
He said after the game, he said it's a good lesson for the players today. Myself, if you're not playing well with the ball, you can still control and dominate the game without it. The reason I think that's quite interesting is because I would have never felt that way with Maresca. I felt like, if we weren't playing well and we didn't have the ball, we were in big trouble. Whereas we saw Maresca would have a lot of games, we'd have the ball, we wouldn't do anything with it, and we might be able to scrape a result. And I think, to be fair, if that's something we're able to do, scrounge out these results, even if we don't necessarily have as much possession or if we're not retaining it as well, that is, I know people don't like it, especially because we're used to seeing the possession style, but I don't mind playing a little bit more direct, giving it away, and then trying to create, having that intent, because when it clicks, I would like to think it's going to be a lot more attractive to watch than anything Maresca would have done, because against big sides, I felt like we had it all figured out, but against your Brentfords, you can't deny our record in previous years has been horrible. What was it? We drew away 2-2. What was the score in the home fixture?
Last year,
we beat them. We did beat them. Cucurella scored late on. I think it was 2-1.
Oh yes, that was the end of our solid period, and then we went downhill from there. I remember it. Yes, but in previous years as well, we had the 4-1. We had the goals when Ericsson was there. I have some bad memories of Brentford.
Yeah, bro. Before yesterday, we'd only beaten them once in our last 8 or 9 matches. The last 8 matches, we've beaten them once.
There definitely needs to be more respect for the result. I
think we only beat them.
What's that, Warren?
No, sorry. I've been lagging, which is why I've had my camera off. I've just been turning other things off of my Wi-Fi. No, I was just sort of saying along there that I think that the only time that we've beaten them at their ground was possibly
Was-
under Lampard. Did Ben
No, it
Chilwell
was under-
score?
no,
Do I remember Ben
Tuchel.
Chilwell scoring a
that
half
was
volley?
Tuchel, yeah, it was Chilwell
Tuchel.
scored
Was
and
it
Mendy
Tuchel?
had a worldie in goal. Yeah,
Tuchel.
I mean,
Yeah,
that's the
Mendy
thing,
did
right?
have a worldie. Yeah.
So I'm looking at this result, and I'm going, it's a respectable result. So I've got to give credit to it all the way. I've got to give credit to it. But now we have to build on what we're doing, and we have to see what's going on. I mean, let's break the game down as a whole. Saeed, what's your take on the way we set up the lineup? Were you happy with the starting 11?
I wasn't too dissatisfied. Me personally, I've burnt that bridge with Tosin, but I had a feeling that he was going to play him. I feel like the lineup wasn't too far off of what we wanted, but the way that we played and the way that we built up the play, just it wasn't too attractive, and we just weren't really penetrating their defense too much. They looked like every time they got onto the ball and they were in our final third, it looked like they were more decisive every single time. It looked like they were going to school. And I was sitting in the Matthew Hardings upper right at the back. They in that first half, if it wasn't for Robert Sanchez, that's a completely different game. And I went on record and I said, I think, yeah, we scored the goals. The aim of football is to put the ball in the back of the net, and that's why we got the 3 points. But I think for large parts of that game, they were the better team. And on another day, if they had their shooting boots on, it could have been a very different game. But you have to also bear in mind that we're playing slightly different nowadays. When we had Enzo Maresca, we used to really build up play through a central centre back, and Cucurella a lot of the time he'd invert right next to Moises Caicedo. So it was a different sort of build up play. Now we have the fullbacks there. He's trying to use Robert Sanchez as much as possible, almost as if he's a centre back as well. But yeah, I just feel like we just weren't decisive enough in the final third, and also our build up play was far too lethargic at times.
I mean, interesting point on Sanchez and the build-up play as well, because I feel like we did change something compared to the Arsenal game. We kept going short in that game, and it was just
This one we went a bit more long, I feel.
Yeah.
There was a lot of moments
it was
where
a bit
people
more of a
behind
mixture
me
this time.
in the MHL were clapping their hands and going, fair play. Don't care where it goes, just get rid of it.
I think the opposition makes a big difference to that. I think that, don't get me wrong, I think that we did change it slightly, but I think that we didn't necessarily use the long ball very much against Arsenal because would have been clipping it up to their centre backs essentially. We didn't really have anything, and I'm not saying that the Brentford centre backs aren't physical and big strong players. I think that you're going to get a bit more loose change out of doing that against Brentford than you are against Arsenal. So I think that's why Rosenior decided just to stick with the passing out.
It does work
against
sometimes when you see, I think there was a couple of times when Neto was running in behind. It did work a couple of times when Sanchez was playing those long balls. Sometimes the direct route can work at times, and I think obviously the fans will get on the. Yeah, exactly. He's fast. He's good on the counter. So I feel like
you
obviously
shouldn't be too predictable a lot of time. You should be willing to switch it up from time to time. Yes, play short.
Yeah, no, definitely.
But sometimes hit it to your 9, hit it to your wingers. And Sanchez really does have his ability to ping the ball is quite underrated in my opinion. I don't think people talk about it enough. He does have a decent long pass on him.
Yeah, no, 100%. But that's the thing. The fans often get.
Doesn't know how.
Let's let Thomas finish his point. Come on.
Yeah, no, I was just saying how the fans often they'll obviously get on the back of the players when every time we play short, you can always hear the crowd they don't want that to happen. But then when it works, it is good. It's just the fact that the success rate of us playing it out from the back right now isn't the highest, and that's why I think sometimes taking the direct route does help. But yeah, no, I was also going to touch on a point as well, how, I was wondering, because at Strasbourg, Rosenior was known for using more wing backs. He was using Diego Moreira more that left wing back. And I think he's sort of stuck to Maresca's style, maybe not the inverting fullback as much, although Reece has played in midfield a bit yesterday as well. But he hasn't really continued what he's been doing at Strasbourg. I think he might get to that, or it might be just a fact of he's keeping what Maresca's doing, and then it's a transition into the way he likes to play. But yeah, I just like that's one thing I like about Rosenior right now, is that the fact that he's not just changed everything, he's accepted that Maresca's sort of tactically shaped our team over the last 2 years, and that he's going to have to work on his structure over a longer period of time.
To be fair, when you come in mid-season though, and you've got 9-10 games in January, you haven't got the time to change.
Yeah, no, exactly.
And it's not wise as a new manager coming in when the pressure's on to finish in the Champions League, when the pressure's on to do X, Y, Z and achieve the goals this season. You haven't got the time to change things up massively. You know, you are going to stick with the majority of what was done before. That's the whole reason he was brought in, because tactically, you know, there's not an awful lot of difference. So that's part of the reason, is because they think it's going to be a fairly seamless transition to what Maresca was doing to what Rosenior is going to do. You know, it's not like they were never going to bring in someone that played a different style of football. They want managers that play this way. And so with him coming in, obviously the style of play is very similar. And that's, I mean, it's not the main reason, but it's one of the reasons why he was appointed. But yeah, sometimes, you know, when you come in midway through a season, there's certain things you have to sacrifice. You know, you have to, like this playing out from the back. I know everyone plays out from the back, and we were playing out from the back under Maresca, but we weren't playing out from the back like we did against Arsenal. It wasn't loads of touches for the keeper. It wasn't the keeper up on like near the halfway line, almost like we've seen with Penders at Strasbourg. So things like that take a lot of time to work on, and you haven't got the time on the training pitch to do that. So you are going to come in and make a few changes here and there, but you need a pre-season to really implement the big changes that you want to make and for the players to get used to it. So even if he wanted to change things, I think he's intelligent enough to know that halfway through a season, when the pressure's on, you're coming into the biggest job of your career, that probably isn't the right time to do it. So certain things have to kind of be discarded.
I think a big part of that as well is who you're working with and what your priorities are. If what we're hearing about the amount of money that Chelsea are going to have to spend is true, and I think it is, you know, you've got the interest payments and the debt, and that's all going to come into play. Lack of revenue from the stadium, no front of shirt sponsor. These are things that will have an effect. I don't see a goalkeeper as a priority in the market. I don't see it as a priority when you've got Sanchez, who, like me and you spoke about it yesterday, Charles, he's not going to win you a Premier League, but you will get Champions League with Sanchez. But, you know, I put other examples in there and I go, well, you know, this player won a Premier League with this team, or that player, you know, it's like, yeah, look at who he's playing with. Look at the teammates that, it's like, I don't know, anyone at Liverpool or anyone at City at the time, or even Arsenal, if you want to use that as an example. It's not because they are the player that's carrying their team through. They've got players around them that makes their life easier. So let's just say we go out and we get a better left winger, we get another centre back, maybe a striker. Then I would be, you know, I think that we could have a serious conversation potentially about pushing a lot further. And that includes having Sanchez in the picture. That doesn't mean that we're going to win, but just having that support system around him, like we've already seen that, you know, he started to get more comfortable when we play to his strengths. So I don't think that it's a case of bringing in a Manyan or someone like that, although I'm an advocate for it if it's the right option. But I'd rather prioritize a better centre-back. I'd rather prioritize a left winger. Those would be...
I also think as well, like with the form that Sanchez has shown this season, if he keeps it up for the rest of the season, then Chelsea will probably be looking at it and thinking Penders, after one season at Strasbourg, is at 20 years of age, is probably not going to be ready to come in and be a number one. So they'll probably look at it and think, right, well, Sanchez has shown this level of form. He's fine for next season. And then after a second season on loan for Penders, which I think he should have, then they might view him at 21 going on 22, that he then be ready at that point. So, I think that's what Chelsea are looking at. I mean, look, we all want a better goalkeeper as such, but when you look at the goalkeeping market, like the top goalkeepers aren't available, to be honest, you know, like the likes of your Courtois and your Alissons and whatnot. So it does leave in a difficult position. So, yeah, I mean, Sanchez, if he carries on playing well, like he is for the rest of the season, then I suspect that he'll be here next season. I agree with you. Like, whilst the goalkeeper is a priority, getting a top quality centre-back, getting another attacker in, getting another midfield player in, that probably makes a bigger difference than just changing the goalkeeper.
Definitely. Just on the keeper as well. I told you, I spoke to you about this, Alex, after I think it was it Arsenal? Yeah. I don't really understand, because we did it against Spurs away, why we don't keep the two players on the halfway line, and then because that just makes Sanchez, it gives him more space to claim the ball. Because yesterday, obviously, his claiming of the ball was good yesterday. I thought he was really good in the air, but I just feel like the penalty box is much less crowded when you keep, I don't know, 2 or 3 players. Quaver did it against Spurs away, keeping 2-3 players on the halfway line, or which will sort of drag those the opposition defenders more into that half, and then it leaves the penalty box with way more space for him to claim the ball. I don't really know why we've not done that again, because every time we're conceding a corner, I still don't feel fully confident about us defending the set pieces, and that's why when I saw against Spurs, that's when I was the most confident of us actually defending them, because Sanchez looked really confident with him being able to come out and claim the cross, because he knew that every time he had to commit and he had the space to commit. So I don't know if that was just a one-off thing, or I just wanted to point it out because it's slightly confusing for me.
Well, no, Saeed, you said the same thing, didn't you, about the set pieces?
Yeah, because we done it against Arsenal when we drew 1-1 and we had 10 men. And it was actually very brave, because the fact that they're already outnumbering you 1 man and you're still keeping 2 to 3 players out of the box. But people might think that that's madness, but there's a method to that madness. It doesn't matter how good your keeper is aerially. Sometimes if there's like 6'2", 6'3" blokes literally on your keeper, and there's 22 men in that 21 men in that box, it doesn't matter how good he is aerially, how good he is to come to collect. There's a wall that he has to bypass that he won't be able to, and it's a bit of a relief for a goalkeeper if you keep 2 men outside of the box at all times, high and wide. That means a minimum of three of the opposition players can't be in that box. They have to focus. So
there's less blocking as well.
Yeah, that clears the pathway for the keeper to come to collect. And another thing that I want to add on that, I think a lot of you guys can agree with me, but yesterday we were very wasteful with our set pieces. The amount of times we were just getting the ball, knocking it side to side, and then it'd work its way back to the keeper, and then you could hear the groans on Stamford Bridge. I feel like sometimes football is a simple game, and you have to stick to the fundamentals. Yes, from time to time, play it short, but get a good set piece routine. Have somebody attack the ball on the front post, have somebody work their way to the back post, good delivery, and attack that ball. A lot of the time, you'll see a good return out of that, instead of always just trying to pass it and work your way around it. And it must just be infuriating as a centre-back, knowing that you can score a goal here, that we have a chance, but these guys keep knocking it back. And
it's because they constantly, they're trying to do is create like another angle for the ball to get put into the box. So what they do, I've seen it so many times, they pass it out to, so let's say Palmer's taking the corner, pass it out to like Caicedo. He passes it to then Enzo in the middle, then back to Caicedo, then back to Palmer. And Palmer will just have a different angle on the cross, basically, which will sort of, it makes it less compact in terms of the box. But then half the time we get pressed really well, and so we're just not able to put the ball in the box, and that's why it's so infuriating. Like, I understand that that's clearly like a tactical set piece routine, but like half the time you need to put the ball in the box. Like, look at Arsenal, the amount of times they score, it's just from putting in swingers into the box and getting either a flick on or just creating chaos in the box.
Yeah, there is an allergy at the moment to putting the ball in the box. It was particularly noticeable yesterday, where multiple occasions, say free kick or corner, it goes short, it goes back, and then the ball just doesn't end up going in the box at all, and it's just a complete waste. And I don't understand it. Yes, you're not going to score every time you put in a set piece, but you're asking the question. When you're knocking it around and a corner ends up like back in your own half with the defenders again, or with the goalkeeper, or the same with a free kick, you end up going back. Like, what is the point in that? Like, I know we've done it occasionally, but yesterday was almost every time, nearly every time it was happening. And I'd love to know the reasoning for that. I don't understand why we're doing that. You know, it's not like, look, I know our delivery is not amazing, but it's not like we can't put a decent ball into the box on even just a semi-regular occasion. So that one for me is an odd one, because particularly in games where you might be struggling or games where chances are few and far between, bro, we're not time wasting in the first half. This is the point. At the end of a game, absolutely, you knock a set piece short and you hold on to the ball, retain possession. But in the first half or partway through a second half, you're not doing that for time wasting.
I think the reason they go short, Charlie, and please let us know in the chat if I'm wrong. I think the actual stats say that you are more likely to score if you go short on a corner. I think that's if you're gonna be, because I remember
no, can I just
go on then?
Sorry,
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm still experiencing a bit of lag. Sorry if I've cut in. Sorry if I've cut in. No, I was going to say with the stats. No, with the stats though. If you look at that stat, that stat is a little bit misleading, because I'm sure that stat would include when it ends up going into the box. And like Charlie said there, we don't get it into the box. So that stat of going short and then getting it into the box, you might get more goals, but only when you get it in the box. If we're not getting it in the box, that stat is irrelevant.
Is that not the point? Or am I saying something different?
But they're crossing it. No. I mean, when they take it short, that stat that they're more likely to score, I believe that stat would be relevant to when they take it short and then cross the ball into the box. What Charlie's saying is we're taking it short and not crossing it into the box.
So Charlie, just to be clear, you're talking about just balls not going in the box, full stop.
Yeah, balls aren't going in the box. Like if you're
off a corner.
Yeah, look, if you're knocking it short and then it's straight away going in the box, then fine. But more often than not, we're knocking it short, and it's not just one pass short and then ball in the box. It's like 2 or 3 passes, and more often than not, the ball just doesn't end up getting in the box.
True.
I still don't feel like we have like a full aerial presence though. Like if you look at a City or something, like they have a Haaland. I mean, Arsenal, they got Gabriel, Saliba, not really Gyökeres, but I don't really feel really confident with anyone in the air, bar maybe Joao Pedro. I've not seen enough from Denap.
Well, we are a very fragile team. I've said this once or twice. Like it's, we don't have necessarily the greatest like technical geniuses like your Xavis, your Iniestas at this club, but like we also don't have a variation of like great athletes, great size like Arsenal. A lot of the time we get bypassed through our midfield because of the likes of Cole Palmer and Enzo Fernandez not having that decisiveness and the ability to read where the ball's going to be in the midfield and really cutting it out. Back in the day when we had Kovacic and Kante and even Jorginho at times, we were able to do that. And if you go further back with Essien, Lamps, John Obi Mikel, all those boys, like we were a very robust midfield. And I feel like in order for us to like really push on and win the big trophies, you need to have that like that power, that physicality in midfield to win those battles constantly.
But I'm saying like when you put the ball into the box, who do you feel confident? Like who do you think?
There's only 2 or 3, I'd say. Probably Chalobah, tossing for maybe Fofana and Joao Pedro. There isn't many, but
yeah, exactly.
That doesn't
mean more than that, though, do you?
Yeah, you don't. That's what I was gonna add to. You don't really need that. You those 4 guys, if they were just to like build like a sort of line, the way that England were doing it in the 2018 World Cup, and just really attack that ball, that's more than enough. And I think Charlie earlier when he was saying what he was saying is he's not allergic to like knocking it short from time to time. It's the fact that we're not putting the ball in the box often enough. And I feel like we need a mixture of, go short from time to time, try work an angle if you can, but also don't forget the fundamentals of putting that ball in the box and attacking it and really trying to score some set pieces.
It can also create chaos as well at the end of the day.
That's the thing. You can get a penalty, you can get another corner on the other side. It's just it can, and also with VAR nowadays, you don't know what they're gonna give. So yeah.
To be fair, when you say creating chaos, I hope we get more chaos, man. Maresca, like I'm all for a bit of chess, mate, but there's a reason that not many people watch chess. Like it's boring, and I'm not saying I want Pochball back, but can we find a bit of middle ground here? Some structure and some entertainment. That's what I want to see. I mean, he's going to need time to implement that. I mean, I hope he gets the wins in the first place to even be given the opportunity to do it, because a lot of people are saying he's not going to last until the end of the season. I personally think that, to be honest, I'm totally clueless. I won't even pretend to have an opinion. Don't know. Everyone's asking me for my predictions. Don't know how we're going to play. Don't know who's going to play. Very, very difficult. I think until like March, I won't really have many opinions, because how are you supposed to read anything that's going on at the moment? I feel like we're so predictable in many ways, but at the same time, like, I don't know if we're trying to just control games or if we're just trying to prioritize winning. It seems to me, based on what we saw yesterday, that we just want to get the results, and that's great, but maybe we're not going to play the most attractive football in the world. But
that's a bit of a worry, though, because after 2 years, when we sacked Pochettino, sorry, and the directors were saying we want someone who's more possession-based football, and you get in Maresca, who is meant to implement that after 2 years or a year and a half, whatever. And the fact that we're talking about scraping out wins whilst not having much of the ball, whilst not really dominating the games, is kind of worrying. The fact that we're not the teams controlling and dominating the opposition. Obviously, it's not great when you have a constant change of manager, constant change in the squad as well. But yeah, like, I just feel like after this whole project, why are we not the ones who we always have the ball? We're dominating the ball. Maybe we might not have the quality in terms of finishing off the chances of stuff, but why are we talking about scraping out wins and not having enough of the ball when we brought in Maresca 2 years ago for us to have that and for our identity as a team to be that, which is,
harder said than done, isn't it? Hey, Warren, I got one for you, mate. Caicedo, when asked about Rosenior and what he's like as a manager, said he likes the midfielders to get the ball a lot of the time. So I'm trying to do that. It's difficult in the Premier League because it's man to man, but I've done well in the 2 games I've played, and I'm sure I'm going to do better every game. Like, do you see a big difference in terms of the midfield and the way we try and orchestrate things?
Well, I think like kind of like what Charlie said. Like, I'll use Charlie's point to sort of like answer that. It's very difficult to know because he's come in mid-season. He hasn't had a pre-season. He hasn't got any. Well, he's not going to get any of the signings he wanted anyway. Maresca didn't, but he hasn't necessarily got the players that he would want to fit his system, and the correct players, the fit players, and everything. So I haven't. I'll be honest with you. Apart from the main thing that I've noticed is the Sanchez thing, sort of like going back to the points that was made earlier about that. The main thing that I've noticed is the way that we're trying to play through Sanchez, and Sanchez being the Tom Brady of our team and being the one that starts everything, like a Neuer or an Edison or an Allison would have in years gone by, and still now, even, to be fair. So I don't really see, like, the midfielders never came and got the ball off of Sanchez before necessarily. I mean, they did, but like they didn't really come short. He would usually use the centre backs. They would like split wide. That kind of still happens, but just even more, they pass the ball back and there's no long ball. So I don't see a difference in our build-up play midfield wise. And again, it's been difficult to judge. We played Charlton. It's not really a fair reflection of where we're at or where we want to be at or anything. And then obviously we played Arsenal, who are top of the league and doing really well in Europe, and put a full strength team out, and we was missing players. So I think it was really unfair to judge any of his tactics or how he was trying to implement or change things there. And then yesterday was just a really difficult game that I don't think that we played very well in. There didn't seem to be any rhythm to the game, and like sort of talking about what Thomas was saying about, we're meant to be a possession-based team. I know we've just changed, but we had a year and a half under Maresca of possession. And yesterday, in a year and a half, you should learn somewhat how to dictate the tempo of a game. If you work hard enough and you've got better players than the opposition and you earn your right to play, you should be able to dictate the tempo of the game, like in a way that Man City or a Liverpool last season would have, or an Arsenal this season, or top teams like Bayern Munich. If they need to speed up the game, they speed it up. If they want to slow it down and take all the pace out of the game, they can. And Chelsea didn't really do that under Maresca, but yesterday we never seemed to. it was just kind of Brentford kind of done their thing and we kind of done our thing, and we just about came out on top in the end. It could have been 2-0 to Brentford easily.
That's what I forget his name, Keith Andrews. That's what Keith Andrews said after the game. He said, if they didn't have £200 million,
what a terrific job he's doing, by the way. What a terrific job he's doing. Young manager, not really well known from the lower leagues, doing a terrific job. Terrific job.
But I mean, he makes a fair point. Like that game, they could have definitely got something out of that. I was personally just glad to get the points. It's like what Charlie said after, like the performance was nothing special. We'll just take the points and move. But there's definitely a few question marks there as well. I think the midfield one is another sort of conversation with Fernandez and these PSG links. Like, we were speaking about it yesterday, Saeed. He loves the club. He's very passionate about it. I agree with you on that. I think that's absolutely spot on. But I'm not against the idea of bringing in Adam Wharton or, someone else like that because, well, I mean, actually, this is the model through and through, right? If I can get two players, £40 million each.
Mate, Wharton's not going to be 40 million.
Wharton's going to be
you get the point. He's not going to be 100. He's not going to be 100.
If he has if he has a brilliant World Cup, if he has a brilliant World Cup, Premier League team to Premier League team, London team to London team, I'm telling you, he will be 80, 85. He'll be 80,
yeah, he'll be a 70 or 80.
85.
Him and Elliot Anderson will both be 70, 80 million pounds.
That's the thing.
Yeah, guaranteed. Premier League team to Premier League team, guaranteed. Yeah. Guaranteed.
So how much do you think that let's just presume he's going? I mean, first of all, do we all agree he's going to go?
Enzo Fernandez.
I don't think so.
I don't think
Wharton.
Yeah.
Oh, Wharton. Sorry.
Palace, mate. Palace.
Yeah, he's leaving.
Oh, I would expect Wharton to leave. Yeah, I think he's going. Yeah.
Absolutely.
The thing is, boys, would Wharton want to come to us?
Well, this is the thing, though, isn't it, mate? Like, and you're spot on here. Is that like we all say, we'd like a Wharton, we'd like Anderson, but do these players actually want to come to Chelsea? Like, if you're an Elliot Anderson or an Adam Wharton, right, and the next move you're going to want to make is you're going to take a step up to a bigger club, but you're going to want to go to a club where you're going to be playing regularly. Now, if I'm Elliot Anderson or Adam Wharton and Manchester City want me, Manchester City, as much as we would hate to admit it, is more attractive prospects than joining Chelsea. Because at City,
you know that you got a chance of playing at Chelsea, though, right? Because you're better than a lot of the other players.
But
especially if you're replacing a Fernandez, for example.
Adam Wharton's got the ability to play for any team. He is that good, honestly. And he's got time on his side. Yeah. Irregardless if you're not playing right now, he knows if I go to Manchester City in the next 4 to 6 years, I am going to be a big pillar in a Premier League.
He'll play there for sure at City. Yeah.
That's the thing. He's going to be a pillar in a Premier League winning side. He comes to here. He knows he's going to waste 4 years of these owners saying, "Look how profitable we are." All of this nonsense.
It's not just about whether you play; it's about what you do in your career as well.
This is sport. Football is a sport.
Do you know why
can't compete? You come to win all the time. And Adam Wharton is probably going to do the same thing that Semenyo done to us, where he says, no.
Well, and the wages as well at the end of the day as well. That's another thing that we probably won't pay. And I'm not saying that Wharton is going to ask for outrageous wages or anything, but they're going to be at the higher end of probably what we might be prepared to offer.
What do you think you'll be on?
And I don't know, but ultimately for me, right, what we're relying on when we're in a race with other big clubs like cities, like, I don't know, Man United to a certain extent, whether Arsenal are interested, whoever else is interested, right? What we're relying on is their want to join Chelsea and belief in the sporting project, because we're not offering the money. So we need to hope that their belief in the sporting project and their want to join the club is enough. Whereas at a City, for example, you're at a bare minimum you're winning something, and you're gonna challenge for the biggest trophies, and you're gonna play, and you're gonna be paid handsomely for what you're doing. So when it comes to Chelsea competing for these kinds of players, as I said, you've got to rely on them buying into the sporting projects, which I think less and less players are now doing, particularly more established players. And then you've got to hope that they just really want to join the club and they're prepared to accept less money than they get elsewhere. That's kind of where we're at now with our transfer targets.
I don't know what Wharton's going to be asking for, but I would honestly, my thing is this: you've got Sterling, you've got Fernandez. I'm hearing that Fernandez might go. I personally wouldn't want him to leave unless you have a decent replacement.
And that's,
Also,
the other thing as well, Alex, just
though.
quickly on that, is that like even with players going, we know based on the evidence so far, we know that generally speaking, when a player leaves, they don't replace them with a better player. That's generally replaced with someone worse. So that's another issue as well, is that can you actually trust the club to replace him with someone better?
But yeah, exactly. I just don't think also the fact that we're talking about midfield replacements as well, when at the start of the season we all said that our midfield was unbelievable, which I still think it is. Obviously, Lavia struggles to stay fit and Asugo's been injured. But if you have a Caicedo, Enzo, Lavia, Andre Santos and an Asugo midfield, for me, that's a perfectly fine midfield to have. You've got the squad depth, you've got the quality, and you've got the backups there as well. So I just don't think it would be smart for us to spend, 70, 80 mil on a midfielder when a goalkeeper and a striker are just way more glaring positions. For me, that's what I think personally.
But again, it depends on what Rosenior might want to do.
If we sold Fernandez, that would fund that, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it probably would. But again,
if we sold Fernandez, it would fund.
Yeah, you'd imagine so. But I also think it depends on how Rosenior wants to play and how he sees Fernandez's role in the team, right? Because we've seen.
I don't want Wharton.
We've seen not just yesterday.
Sorry,
quickly, mate. I was just going to say, like, we've seen like yesterday, right, and not just yesterday, but countless other times where the Caicedo Enzo pivot doesn't really work that well. Don't get me wrong, on occasions it has worked well, but generally speaking, it doesn't seem to work as well. You know, you often get overrun in that midfield, and the team often looks a lot better when Enzo's pushed a little bit higher up the pitch, and then you've got a double pivot behind him. Now, if that's maybe what Rosenior might look to do a bit more going forward, because I think the team definitely looks a bit more solid that way. It certainly looks better balanced and it gets more out of Enzo Fernandez, then you could understand why going for an Adam Wharton, for example, might make sense given Lavia's injury issues. And as much as Rosenior might like Andre Santos and whatnot, he's still developing. And if a big offer came in for him, I'm not saying we'd accept it, but none of us would be surprised if they took it. You know, that's the reality.
Isn't that where the inverted fullback comes into play? Because when we had Caicedo, Enzo would be pushed more forward if you inverted a Cucurella or a James, let's say.
I think a lot of the time Enzo Maresca was using inverted fullbacks to compensate for that double pivot of Caicedo and Rice.
Yeah, it doesn't quite work.
Yeah, it doesn't work. And a lot of, I know earlier you were saying like we've got Romeo Lavia, Andre Santos, but Andre Santos, he's not the finished article. He's still working on his craft. And Romeo Lavia, I don't know how you lot view him, but I don't view him as a Chelsea player. I cannot rely on somebody who's had 21 appearances since we signed him. One of the best sayings in football is the best ability is availability, and this guy has not been available for us, so we cannot rely on him even going into the next season. I do not trust Romeo Lavia as to be one of the. We shouldn't be relying on him in our starting 11.
That's the thing though. Like for me, just having Caicedo by himself in that number 6 role for me never really works. Like even to be able to push Enzo forward. I mean, obviously I haven't watched much of Asugo, but even having a Caicedo and Asugo double pivot or a Caicedo Andre Santos pivot to allow Enzo to move forward, that would definitely give us more stability than just having Caicedo Enzo as that pivot. Because you saw yesterday, Enzo's trying to advance in that number 8 position, but then at the same time, he has his defensive duties. So, it's just for us, it's a matter of whether those midfielders can stay fit. And then also whether Rosenior does like to invert the fullback to cause that double pivot. But yeah, he doesn't really seem like he likes to do that.
Another option you've got as well is that, like, obviously I know Reece James plays in both positions and whatnot, and you have got Malo Gusto who is capable at right back. Is using Reece James more as a midfielder potentially. I mean, we certainly know that Maresca trusted James more in midfield over Andre Santos. I think it's clear that Rosenior is going to does trust Santos more, given, he worked with him for a season at Strasbourg, given he knows that player very well. I think we're seeing now with Santos, playing a bit more that trust is there. So look, there's interesting decisions to be made, but I think, people can say you could sell Enzo Fernandez, fine, but I think what people start to realize is that people don't realize how good a player is or how important a player is until it's too late. Like, a lot of people that criticize Enzo Fernandez will be the first ones if he does eventually leave, that will be like, we actually missed that. That's quite difficult to replace. And then, yes, you can go and get another midfield player, but to get a midfield player with the skill set and what Enzo Fernandez brings to a team, and just not even just on-ball attributes, but in terms of that leadership and that passion, that's very hard to replace. And when there's not much of that at the club in the first place, looking to potentially get rid of it is doing ourselves a massive disservice.
Yeah. By getting rid of Fernandez, the reason I wouldn't be happy signing Wharton if we sold Fernandez would be because we signed Fernandez a couple of years ago with the idea that he was going to develop into a player and he was going to become this brilliant player who was going to be playing in different roles and be a leader for Chelsea in the midfield and potentially be a captain. If we sell him and buy Wharton, why didn't we just do that fucking 2.5 years ago? That would be my problem with that. Buying Wharton to replace like an injured Lavia or a not quite as well developed Andre Santos, or to replace somebody like that, I can understand that. I would see that as progress. I would see that as signing a better player than what we've already got. But to sell Fernandez to Paris Saint-Germain and use the money to buy Wharton, I'm sorry, that we should have just bought Wharton 2 years ago and not wasted our time for 2 years. That's why that would be the most frustrating thing.
When he was at Blackburn,
it would be incredibly frustrating.
When he was at Blackburn, weren't we linked with him?
There were some loose links when he was at Blackburn, but I think
a few teams, a few coaches knew what a good player he was.
There was a lot of clubs sniffing about.
That would be the frustration. That would be the frustration for me. It was like selling Jackson and signing Delap. Well, why didn't we sign Delap 2 years ago instead of Jackson? I'm not saying that Delap was the player that we thought he was going to blah, 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 but I'm saying somebody else, another option. We was looking at other options. Why didn't we sign these players 2 years ago? That would be the frustrating thing.
I think the big decision, and forget Fernandez. I think the big decision in the midfield this summer is what the club decide to do with Lavia. Because do you keep faith with him and do you back him to put these injury problems behind him, or do you take the decision where you're like, do you know what, we've given this a chance, it's 3 seasons, and these injury issues are kind of pretty non-stop, and it's difficult right now, and I wouldn't blame the club for potentially taking that decision, but on the flip side as well, when you've got a player who's played right now 30 games in 2.5 years, you're going to find it hard to get a market for him. Not on a wages situation, but just on an availability thing. Now, I know we've seen players who have had injury problems at Chelsea in the past move on and stay relatively injury-free, the likes of Pulisic at Milan, Loftus-Cheek, and so on. But Lavia has been plagued by injury issues, and so I think that the big thing for me is what the club decided to do at Lavia. I think Lavia is a phenomenal player, so much talent, loads of ability. Every time he plays for us, he's got so much quality, and you can tell the difference that he makes to the team. However, at some point, you've got to come to a decision where you're like, well, how much longer do we keep giving this? Now, we did it with James because he's top class, and that's paying off right now. Fofana, the same people were more lenient with him because of the ability and how good he is.
But Lavia as well.
And that's starting to pay off. And Lavia is in that same category of ability, but the problem is you don't know when the injuries might lessen. Like this one, for example, this last injury that he picked up against Qarabag at the start of November, we were told he was going to be out for a minimum of a month. It's been over 2 months now. And the update from Rosenior before this game against Brentford was he's out on the pitch doing rehab, but that there's no time frame on any return. And like I knew at the time when Lavia went down, and they were pretty coy about it, that there was a chance we wouldn't see him again this season. And I still stick by that. I think there's a good chance that we might not see him again this season.
Yeah. No, I think like at times I agree with what you say, Charlie, about like I think sometimes you just have to bite the bullet and sell those sort of players just because he's very injury prone. But I feel like he's so good that I just think that if we were to sell him and then if he was to become fit somewhere else, we'd be regretting that. And I think
Do you not think that Lavia's replaceable though? Because I don't see Fofana or James as players that are easily replaced.
No, but
I look
I
at
just think
Lavia
that
and that
Lavia's got
position.
like I think he's got exceptional quality, especially like that. You don't see that many press-resistant midfielders like him, and how good he is at doing it. Like in the modern Premier League, like I've really not seen players maybe like a Gravenberch, and then it's for me like that's that sort of ilk of player that you don't really find as much, and that's why I just think sometimes, obviously, we've been a club who've changed our wingers every single season. We've changed our strikers every season. We've changed everything under Clearlake pretty much every season. Like we brought in maybe 6 attackers this season. So we've been, we've consistently been changing our squad every season. I just think that persisting sometimes with a player, it might just end up working out well. Obviously, Lavia's been 3 years. Obviously, like I'm exaggerating a bit because he's had 3 years, so he's had time to prove himself. He's had time to prove that he can stay fit, but he's just not. But I just feel like at times when you have that good of a player, you have to persist with it. It's the same with Cucurella. When he was doing terrible, everyone wanted him out, and he has that redemption arc. It's not the same thing. This is an injury case, but I just think that when you have that quality of player, you just have to persist with it sometimes.
I think the fact that he's just turned 22 is one of the big factors for me as well in terms of wanting to persist with him. If he was, say, 25, 26, 27, then I think the opinion would be very, very different. But because he's still very young, I think, well, for me personally anyway, I've got a bit more leniency towards it. Don't get me wrong, I'm incredibly frustrated by the fact he's constantly not available and whatnot. But because he's just turned 22, I'm more inclined to be more patient with that. Whereas, as I said, if you're 25, 26, 27, you're sort of a bit like, this is, you'd be more inclined to move on and kind of cut your losses. But whatever people's opinion is, there is 100% a big decision that's got to be taken in regards to Lavia in the summer. Whatever side of the fence you're on, a big decision is going to have to be made.
Let me ask you about this one, boys. Especially those people who went. I think everyone except Warren was at the game, so it might be difficult for you, Warren. But obviously, you saw. Actually, Warren, you would have seen the pictures of the protest. What did it look to you? What did it look like to you from home when you saw everything?
Well, I've got to admit, I was a little bit disappointed. I was a bit disappointed with the numbers. I really thought that there would be a lot more numbers there. I know that people's frustrations kind of, I don't know. I don't know whether people's frustrations are maybe not as in the same places like mine are. I think that we're sort of like quite we don't necessarily agree on every single fine detail, but generally speaking, we have an issue with like Clearlake, Egbali, like the sporting directors, the way that they're sort of running the club like it's Football Manager. We kind of generally have that opinion that's all the same. And I thought that was quite universal. Judging by the numbers at the protest yesterday, it doesn't seem it's as universal as I thought. So I was a little bit disappointed with that. I haven't got myself too caught up in the whole protest thing. Being so far away, it is quite difficult for me to actually interact with the protest. So I reserve my opinion and my judgment a little bit, because I think it would be unfair for me to sort of like judge the protest in any way, because I didn't take part in it. So
it's like anything. You care a lot about Chelsea, and you
no. But you see, you guys, But you see, you guys at the protest. No. The way that I see it, you guys at the protest, it's your guy. Okay, so my opinion matters as a football fan. Every single Chelsea fan opinion matters, and every single football fan opinion matters. That's the beautiful thing about football. It's like arseholes. Everyone's got one, the same as an opinion, right? So. That's the beautiful thing. That's the beautiful thing about football. But I can't sit there and judge the numbers that were there or the signs that they made or the reason that they was there or the reason that they wasn't there, because I wasn't there. I didn't make the effort, so I can't judge anybody that did or didn't make the effort. So the people that turned up seem to be protesting for the same reasons that I believe in. The reason that I believe the protest was necessary was for certain reasons, and I've just sort of said that, and we kind of all agree with that. So the people that were there, I'd like to thank them for representing my opinion and my views, and I think that they've done a very good job of it. The ones that were there, I think they've done a very good job of it, and they should be proud of themselves. I think that Chelsea fans need to come together much more as a club and much more as a community and do more. But the people that went yesterday, they couldn't have done more. They done everything they could. So thank you.
I'll be honest with you. I mean, me and Charlie were there early. I came over and I said hello, and we were thinking, hang on a second, it's 50 minutes past 12, whatever it is. There's 10 minutes until this protest. There's a lot of people standing outside sort of Connaught, which is the pub outside Stamford Bridge, and sort of on, around the Britannia gate. And we were like, okay. I was like, you know what? Don't give it 10 minutes. See what happens. And then it was 5 minutes to go. And then you had a minute left. And, a guy came up to us, Charlie, didn't he? And he said, he said, you boys are famous. You should be orchestrating this. And I went, no. There's people that have actually organized this event. Like, we don't know where they are. And then eventually the guy goes over, he has his banner, and people sort of go towards him. And we did start chanting, but it was like, I'd say a solid 3 minutes of chanting, and then it was just silent, and we just looked around like, is that it? And
I came a bit later.
Do you think that affected the atmosphere inside Stamford Bridge? Do you think it affected the day in any way? Do you think it affected the atmosphere at all? You guys were there, I wasn't, so I just...
There was a couple of Roman Abramovich chants, but that's about all I can
The only
hear.
time where I feel like
not even in a positive way? Not even in a positive way?
For me, the only time I feel like a protest has affected the game is the Super League protest. I remember the Super League protest, and then we played Brighton. Obviously, there were no fans.
Game that, wasn't it?
Yeah, there were no fans in the stadium, but it was the most dull game ever. I remember, I think it was Czech. He came out to confront the fans and everything. But yeah, no, for me, it's just a case of people are just always talking. There's an expression, isn't it? Like talking the walk, but not walking the talk. They say so much on social media about the protests and stuff, but they're just half the people just don't go, or half the people are just not really passionate about it. I don't really know. Obviously I came 45 minutes before the game started, so it was there was a little flurry of protest chants, all of that. But yeah, I feel like when people say so much about it, and when people have a strong opinion, they're very quick to have an opinion online, on social media, write whatever they want. But then when it comes to actually doing it, they never end up doing it.
Yeah, people don't.
Sorry.
Crack on, mate.
Oh, no. Sorry, I'm lagging again. I just wanted to really concur with what Thomas has just said there. That's literally my point. How can I judge everybody for not going when I didn't go myself? That's why I reserve my judgment for the numbers, and how, even though I think more people should have turned up, you're absolutely right. Armchair fans, their opinions on social media, it does my tits in, so I'm not going to be one of them people.
No, I think. Do you know what it tells me as well? I think for people like us that live and breathe football, that love it and stuff, and it's a big part of our lives. This sort of thing matters. But I think yesterday showed me that I'm actually not sure that particularly a lot of match-going fans, I'm not sure it matters that much to them in terms of what's going on right now. I think for a lot of people, it's just a release at the end of the week. It's a nice thing to do. They don't look at it in the same way as what we might look at it, where it matters to us. It means a lot. We want the best for the club. We talk about it 24/7. We live and breathe it. Whereas for other people, they haven't got that. I don't think they've got that same relationship with the club. So it doesn't really matter on that level. Plus, I think for some people, they look at it and they think, right, Chelsea are 6th in the Premier League. We won 2 trophies last season. How bad really is it? So there's those two things. Yeah. And then the second thing I was going to add was, the problem with it is that for me, and it's very, look, I don't know how to organise a protest. It's very, very difficult to do. But unfortunately, there's going to be a certain section of people, i.e., young, like certainly there's a lot of younger people. I'm talking maybe people, teenagers, maybe
Uni
just
students,
20 or whatever, and
Yeah.
they're, instead of trying to put the message across, they're using it as an
How I see all
opportunity.
of you.
They're using it as an opportunity to have their moment on camera, to get some photos with some banners, to have photographers taking pictures of them that were there. And then they're talking about, like, for me, those people that were doing Tottenham, that were doing chants about former players, guys, you've embarrassed yourself there. It's nothing to do with what the point of this was. And you've made us look like idiots. Yeah, okay, it wasn't the best turnout in the first place, and the message was maybe a bit diluted, and it was perhaps lost, and it didn't have maybe the intended outcome that we were looking for. But those people doing that, they just make a mockery of what people are trying to do and the message that people are trying to put across. So, unfortunately, you're always going to have that, though. It was a load of young lads. They probably had a few beers and that situation it's embarrassing at the end of the day.
Can I
just one thing, Si, just one thing. So we were there, and I was chatting with you, Charlie. I was with Lewis as well, and this is about sort of 20 minutes after you got the main section where everyone's chanting, and I joined in and whatnot. And then I thought I'd take a step back because someone was calling me, so I took the call anyway. And I'm chatting with Lewis. I saw Scott there. I said, "Oh, it's great to see you, mate." And I'm thinking, what's everybody else thinking? And people are going, good numbers. The numbers are right. I was actually even disappointed with the numbers, to be honest with you. I expected more people there. Some people joking around saying there's 100, 200 people. I think there was around a similar amount to last time, 300. I would have said, 350.
Yeah.
If you include people lingering about. But it was the same for me. Like, as soon as I heard these Enzo Fernandez chants and there's these Esteval chants and chanting about the fact that we're club world champions, you're protesting about what's wrong with this club.
Yeah.
We just won the Club World Cup with these guys. I don't know what we're doing here. I saw a banner which said, "I want Egg Barley out, Win Stewart out, all the rest of it, and I want Pedro Neto out." I'm like,
remember when we were chatting to Lewis, right? And Lewis was like, "Oh, give it a couple of minutes. There'll be a Jose Mourinho chant," and then there literally was. So that's the point, though, is that like the thought behind it is right, and the what people are trying to get across is right. It's just every time you try and get it across in a maybe in a serious manner or in a sort of a professional kind of way, it unfortunately it just gets ruined by certain people that just turn up and use it as a day out.
Yeah, definitely. And I also feel like it's almost as if the sporting directors and Egg Barley, they probably look at that and they go, they're chanting about whatever, chanting about Lampard, they're chanting about Essa, all these stuff. They probably find that hilarious. They probably that doesn't. It would be better to not have a protest than have a protest where you're not focusing on the right thing. And for me, that's where it's just such a shame when you have that, when that happens. And like you were saying, Charlie, how just people use it as it's almost like a hipster sort of thing, like a new toy, like almost like a day out where you show your banners, you do all of this, you chant a bit and stuff, when the message is not really getting across. And they're probably licking their lips. They're probably saying, yeah, well, this protest was clearly not that successful. Not many people showed up. So it's clear for us that not many people are passionate about us going out of the club. Obviously, I think where they would be affected by it was if it was consistent, if we were doing it when we were winning as well. Like when Strasbourg was second in the table, they were protesting when they were second in the table, when they were doing super well, banners all the time. That is a proper protest, one which where the fans are really passionate about, even when in the highs. Us, it's always when we're in the lows, and then even when we're in the lows, the turnout's not great. And it's a product of also the fact that players, season ticket holders, a lot of them have become tourists now, or just people who sit in the east or west, and they just go to the games for a day out, or they have a season ticket just because they're wealthy enough to get that season ticket and they won't go to the away games. They won't go to every single to the lesser games and travel all across the UK. And so for me, you have a much smaller proportion of those fans who travel long distances to watch Chelsea. And I think those are the fans who will be more passionate about getting the owners out, getting the sporting directors out, having change. And that's where, for me, like we've seen in the last couple of years, the proportion of fans who just buy tickets because they have enough money to, or just tourists, or that proportion of fans is increasing. So for me, it's not really a surprise when you get not that many, or the turnout not being that great at these sort of protests for me. So yeah.
Just to add to that, I completely agree with that, because I've been going to Stamford Bridge for quite some time now. In the 23-24 season, I didn't go to a single game. Before that, I was going 10 games a season, shall we say, at the bare minimum, even if I didn't have the money, because I wasn't a season ticket holder. I can comfortably say over the past 10 years, something's been going on at Stamford Bridge. I'm seeing more and more and more people who just don't know the chants, more and more people who are tourists, which I'm completely fine with tourists coming over to Stamford Bridge. I would want to come to Chelsea if I was from a different country. There's nothing wrong with that. But I feel like that's correct. The proportions, it has to be a good number of the Chelsea fans. And it's just getting too much now. Like the West Stand, what we have to do to those guys to just get one single chant out of them, it's too much. It's borderline embarrassing.
I mean, bro, I was I mean, Alex, we've sat in hospitality before a few times, and I sat in it yesterday. And look, it's great. You get a great view. It's nice. You get some food and that. But in those sections, there is no chanting, and unfortunately, a lot of the people watching the game aren't actually Chelsea fans. So. You know, we're in a situation.
It's just another
now,
bucket list.
And this is not just a Chelsea issue, by the way. This is a issue, I think, across the whole Premier League. Is that Alex, me and you go home and away, right? There's probably two grounds, Newcastle and Leeds, where the home fans are louder than the away fans.
Pretty much Sunderland as well.
Maybe Sunderland. We haven't been there yet, but probably maybe Sunderland as well. But certainly out of the ones that we've been to, Alex, I'm sure you agree with me that Newcastle and Leeds are probably the only two grounds where the home fans are actually louder than the away fans. Normally, everywhere else you go in the league, the away fans
Villa, Palace,
Villa maybe, but generally speaking, the away fans are better than the home fans at a lot of grounds. And it is a problem, but
that's normal these days. That's typical in history, though. That's quite typical in history.
Yeah,
but it is normal. But it has been normal forever. It has been normal for 50 years.
I wouldn't say it's normal. I would say it's normalized. I wouldn't say it's normal. It's normalized.
Yeah, it has been normalized. Yeah, it has been normalized. But
I've been going to football for nearly 40 years. It's always been the same.
Yeah, I think Stamford Bridge is an interesting one, right? Because for a one-off game, for those big games, those big nights under the lights, or a big game, like the Barcelona game and whatnot, like it's great. But you don't get that on anywhere near a consistent level. Most Premier League games it is distinctly quiet. There's no denying that. And of course, we're part of it. We're there. But when you've got, actually, we've spoken about this before as well. When you've got only two stands that make any noise, Matthew Harding, it's generally the Matthew Harding lower and the shed end, right? Yeah. When you've got only half the stadium, well, less than half the stadium, because there's the away end as well. When you've got less than half of the stadium that actually does any chanting, when East and West stand are virtually null and void in terms of generating any atmosphere, it shouldn't be a surprise that we're in the situation that we're in, because the West View is all hospitality. The East stand is like a family stand, and there's very little noise coming from there. And so it's not really a surprise that we're in that situation.
Yeah. Warren, I know you've got to go, mate. So thanks for jumping on. Really appreciate it.
Yeah. So sorry, guys. It's literally, I'm literally not got nothing better to do. I'd love to stay. It's just that the lag is so bad that what's happening is Like, so someone starts talking and then it stops, and then I get 10 seconds of audio in half a second, and it's impossible for me to keep up. It's impossible for me not to interrupt people. I'm sure that I've probably done it to every single one of you about 20 times during the show. It wasn't intentional unless it was. But no, really enjoyed coming on, and hopefully I'm going to do some troubleshooting, see if it's just an internet thing where I am, because usually my internet is solid. So listen, hopefully I'll get on next time, and I look forward to seeing you guys soon, win or lose up the Blues. Always a pleasure, Warren. Have a good one, mate.
All right. No, just on that one, Charlie, mate. I mean, going back to atmosphere and the protest, like just circling a little bit. You know what frustrates? I'm not annoyed at anyone who says this protest was an embarrassment, because it was. It was embarrassing. It was. No, you can't take that protest seriously at all. I also want to ask a question of people who've been going on about this protest and encouraging protests. Don't even fucking turn up. Where the hell was everyone? Like, I actually get on well with Johnny. I don't mind him. But this is the guy who's always talking about the protests. And I was looking, he's not anywhere. People, I don't know. I don't understand it, right? Maybe there's a reason for it. I don't know. But like, we're saying we care about the club. A lot of people are talking online, a lot of tweets, a lot of live streams, everything about the ownership. Maybe one of the reasons that you had these young kids chanting about Club World Cup champions and Estaval and all the rest of it was because you didn't have any other fans that were willing to take ownership of the direction of the protest. And what I will say is, Johnny was at the last protest. You had Stevie Proper Chels. These were the people orchestrating it. And it had a clear message, didn't it? I think that was a respectable protest. And a lot of people criticized it and said it was a joke. That was a genuinely good attempt of getting the ball rolling.
I think it was better than the one yesterday, I have to be honest.
Charlie, it wasn't even close. It wasn't even close. I mean, the first protest, banners that were being made, you had a clear message. Everyone came together. You met at the Bovril Gate, you marched down, and the press would have had a field day. But it wasn't just like you get your pictures. You could see and feel the passion that everyone else was feeling. And now I'm looking around, and I'm not going to lie to you boys. After half an hour, and I started hearing these silly chants.
As soon as the chants,
what is the fucking point?
As soon as the chants switched away from the message, I was done, because it was at that point all meaning of it was gone.
It was a pathetic protest, and to be honest with you, like, I've been very much an advocate for this, and I still encourage people to go out and give their opinion, but I don't take it serious. Based on
I think what I would say is that they would have been aware of it. It was picked up by a number of media outlets and stuff. So in terms of that point of view, I think it's gone well. I think that the organisers will admit themselves that, it didn't go as planned, and there are a lot of things to learn and to improve upon and to get better. But I can't remember who mentioned it, but the most important thing is that you're consistent with it. This can't be like last time where we did it against Southampton last February, and then we waited until now to go again. There's got to be at least one more there's got to be one more something before the end of the season. And it shouldn't be rushed into either. People have got to really think about it, whether you're getting major fan groups on board, like the Supporters Trust or We Are the Shed or wherever it might be. There needs some kind of backing from people who have got a bit of an in with the club. There needs to be something, because I think the last two have been organised off the back of just fans, which is fine. But I think now, something's got to be done again before the end of the season if we're being serious about it. But there needs to be, like, the actual planning and the carrying out of it has got to be a lot better.
I would say March. Give it a month or two, and then
and it doesn't always have to be when we're doing bad, because then it just feels like it's reactionary as well.
Yeah, even when we're just to like chime in on this, I'd say a protest is very useful, but it's only good. It's only as good as its organization. When a protest is organized properly, like ground rules are set, like we don't want to chant about this and this and this and this, and everybody comes together as a collective, it can be done it can be very useful. It can be done well, but when there's so much like discombobulation within the fan base, it can become embarrassing. So this could be a lesson for the next time if this is happening. Maybe to be fair, I don't know how you guys feel about it. I'm fine with 1 or 2 chants from our most iconic players like Frank Lampard, as long as 95% of the time we are on the straight and narrow and we're making it clear.
I don't know if it would benefit from like having someone almost orchestrating it with like a megaphone at the front or something. At least no, but no, that might sound a bit stupid, but at least then you've got someone leading the chants and maybe directing it. Because after a while, there's a couple of chants about, you know, the Clear Lake chant and then Roman and stuff and whatnot, and then it just fizzled out, and then that was kind of it. I mean, look, I don't know. Look, by the way, it's very, very difficult to organise a protest. It's very difficult to know how many people are turning up and whatnot. And so, look, what's organised has to be respected and the effort that's gone into it. And like we'll all learn from this as well. But yeah, there's got to be a situation where, again, fans need to take it more seriously as well. And I'm not saying that we didn't, us four, but like there's clearly a lot of people that turned up yesterday that turned up and weren't serious about it. They just used it as an opportunity for a bit of fun before going into the match.
I mean, when we talk about the messaging as well, though, guys, this is what they demanded, right? Clear accountability, end micromanagement culture, flexibility over volume, board stability, proper manager support, championship ambition. So you got 6 points. How's anyone going to know what to pick? I mean, it's too much. It's too much. Not that we disagree with it, but it's like, what are you supposed to take from that protest when, I mean, they came out with a statement themselves, which I don't know if anyone's seen earlier today. And they said that they've got some reflections from yesterday. I'm just going to read it. It might take a minute. We hoped for more people to turn up, but there's still a lot more to take from it. Speaking personally, we learned a lot. If anything, yesterday reinforced that we've been hearing for months. Match-going fans and those online are deeply unhappy with the ownership model and the project being implemented through the sporting structure. The recent Chelsea Supporters Trust survey was pretty damning, with well over 80% saying they lack confidence. That level of disconnect between fans and the club feels as wide as it's ever been. It's also important to be honest and about the split messaging. There are fans who believe the only option is Blueco out. We understand that frustration. Many of us would prefer Chelsea to not be owned by Blueco, Clearlake or Bowley either. But we also have to be realistic about what's achievable right now. Yesterday, the loudest message from those who attended was Blueco out. And that's something we need to reflect on. We should also acknowledge the chanting. When songs drifted toward unrelated rivals, it diluted the message and hurt the credibility of what we were trying to do. Whether we like it or not, that kind of thing makes it easier for people to dismiss any action as unserious. What really stood out, though, was how different people experience football. For some, it's everything. For others, it's a release at the end of the week. Some others want the full match day experience a few times a season. Others can't be there at all, but still care as deeply. That matters when we talk about taking action. A lot of fans who are unhappy simply aren't comfortable standing in a street protesting alongside people they don't know or can't relate to, and that doesn't always make them less invested. So we think a more measured approach is needed next, and we're open to hearing some ideas. So then they wanted to know what people had to say. They had 4 questions. How do we reach the large number of fans who are unhappy but didn't want to protest publicly? What better, more meaningful ways of communicating supporter concerns to the clubs? What issues need to be prioritized? And are you happy to accept the current direction this club is heading in? So I think it was a pretty level-headed statement, but I mean, it doesn't change the fact that the protest ultimately was unsuccessful, if we're being totally honest.
I think that's a fair conclusion.
Do you boys have anything off of those points?
I would just say, like, it's very difficult to do a protest, to organize a protest. So I'm not going to really talk too bad about it because I'm not the one organizing it. this should just be a lesson for next time in how to do it. Maybe just like stick to the most important things is what I'd say, like Todd Bowley, maybe Egbali, all of that. Maybe like talk about just keep it simple. That list of 6 points, when I think about it, it's just too confusing. And also, I wanted to ask you guys: do you lot think that a lot of people have sort of, I wouldn't say necessarily given up, but they've just accepted their fate, that we're just stuck with these guys and there's nothing that we can do, so maybe protesting ain't going to change anything? Would you not say that?
Yeah, bro, I think there's definitely a people that think like that. You know, the fact they consistently double down on the fact they're not changing the model despite like whatever happens. I think, you know, a lot of people have maybe not given up, but they've just accepted the fact that whatever they do is probably not going to make a difference. So why bother? I think there's definitely a large portion of people that think that.
Yeah, no, I totally agree as well, especially because from their viewpoint as a private equity, they're doing very well. Like in terms of them, they see themselves as a business. Obviously, they're gonna say to journalists and they're gonna brief to the club that they want to succeed at Chelsea. Obviously, they're gonna say that, but for them, Egbali must be those people. When you're so good and when you're that successful in a world where it's hard to be successful, you have to have a bit of an ego. And I think Egbali has that much of an ego where he doesn't really care what people will say, and he can easily block out the noise from outside. And especially when you have a protest that just isn't that strong, he can easily block out that noise and continue with what he's doing. And I think, yeah, for them on their side, they're doing very well because they're getting money. They're buying in these players young. They're selling them for profit. They're making money. So for them, it's happy days. And yeah, their connect towards the fans is never going to be like one which Roman had. So that's why, yeah, they're just not really worried about.
The thing is with billionaires. The thing is with billionaires, they made billions. They have an ego. All billionaires have an ego. The difference is with Roman Abramovich, that guy was Chelsea through and through. He had an ego, of course. You can't get to that level of wealth without having a bit of confidence, a bit of arrogance, a bit about yourself. But the thing is, Roman would listen to us. He would listen to us. He'd sack Villas-Boas when we didn't want him. He'd sack Rafa Benitez when we didn't want him. Like,
and that's the thing as well. We protest the day before. We protest, yesterday, and then the day after we advance in talks with what's his name, Jeremy Jacquet
or something like that,
yeah.
from Lens.
So,
I think he's going to be about. Apparently, Fabrizio just said that we're pursuing hard on this guy. I don't know. I'm not gonna pretend like I've watched this guy play football. No, I don't, isn't it? But
29 appearances, isn't it, Charlie?
Well, he started 29 games in France. Yeah. But look, it is what it is, you know, like that. He'll probably more than likely come in, and that's what they're doing. So, I mean, I could understand to a certain extent why people have sort of almost kind of given up in terms of trying to change what this ownership are doing. Because
it's an immovable force, basically.
Potentially, yeah.
Hey, big up to everyone that's been watching the show as well. Smash the like button if you haven't already. We've got almost 150 of you on YouTube, over 370 on X as it stands.
According to the data.
What's that, mate?
According to the data, yeah.
According to the data, mate. We're very data driven on Chelsea Fan TV. We do love a bit of data. All about the analytics. Anyway, if you haven't smashed the like button, please do subscribe. It does make a big difference, guys. It just shows that you're actually enjoying the content, and it encourages us to keep doing it. Check out Charlie's channel as well, Blue Brother. Where can they find you, Charlie?
Yeah, there. That's what you just told them where they can find me. Check it out. Where can you find me? Well, you just said, bro. But yeah, you find me Blue Brother CFC.
I don't know. I thought maybe you might want to go a little bit more in depth. You know. Little website plug.
A what plug? Sorry?
Little website plug.
I haven't got a website, mate.
Plug for the merch.
No website, no merch, mate. Unfortunately, no.
One day, mate. One day.
Maybe one day.
Where can people find you, Said?
Well, I work for Egbali's pyramid scheme. So if you lot want to go for it, like, just give me a shout. I'm just joking. My name's Said, Sports Arena Boys. You can find me on TikTok, Instagram. I'm not on Twitter. Well, I'm on YouTube as well. I'll be making full-length YouTube videos very soon. Yeah. So.
Big up to you, my friend, and big up to everyone that's come on. Thomas, always a pleasure, my friend. Have you got? Oh, he's gone black.
He's had enough.
He's off. He's in the dark. All right. Well, there you go. That's one way to wrap it up. All the best to everyone. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and we will be back for the next one, which is Paphos. Bigger game than we'd actually realised.
David Luiz is back.
Yeah.
What's that?
David Luiz will be back.
Oh, yeah, he's gonna be back. So yeah, we'll be there for that one. We'll be outside the stadium. Are you boys all going?
Yeah.
No, I won't be here for that one. I'm not gonna be here. My next game will probably be after February 7th. I'm gonna be flying out. So yeah, that's probably when I'll be back at Chelsea.
There you go, mate. There you go. Good to see you boys as always. Big up to everyone, and we'll catch